Now that we understand what is needed in a script to make it work in a script tool, let's actually go through that process. So we'll pick up with the second half of lesson 6 right here. So how do we attach our script to a tool? The way it works is you take your script, get it set up, and you basically go through like a little wizard or a panel to fill out what script you're pointing to and what the parameters are. To do this, you need to use what's called a custom toolbox in ArcGIS. So that means that it can't be one of the built-in toolboxes that came with the software. It has to be either, for example, the toolbox that got created with your project, or a toolbox that you created yourself, or some other human created. So you set that toolbox up or find it, and then you go to the toolbox, right-click, do New Script, like this. And then it launches the New Script dialog. So in here, there are a few things to fill out, some properties to fill out, and we'll go through that in just a second. If you want some more direction on all of the steps, they are located here in this page, which I think walks through really well. Once you're in that panel, these are the things that have to be filled out. So your name, your label, optionally a description and summary, and then a couple other properties that you can set. And most importantly, you have to tell it what PY file to use. So in your new script dialog, you have a section here for execution. And in here, when you first go in, it will just say embedded, which is kind of confusing. But if you look at the whole thing, there is a browse button on the right. So you actually hit browse, you browse to your PY file and you load it in. So after you do that, your script will actually show up in here. But it is a live link. So notice in this bullet point here, it is a live link. So once you set it in here, if you go back to PyCharm or your IDE and make changes to the script file, it will automatically update. So every time you save the Py file, it will update for your script tool. There is another option called a Python toolbox, and that's a different type of toolbox. It has the code embedded in it. You can learn more here if you look at the slides. I don't really use that one. It's a little bit fancier, but you're welcome to check it out. And the last thing I usually do in setting up my script tool is to set up the parameters. And this is really important because the parameters have to be entered in here in the order that they are encountered in the script. So you have to understand your script. So let's actually go back and start the process, and then we'll take a look at the code and fill it all out. Here is the script that we will be turning into a script tool. It's the one that we updated in part 1 of this lesson video. So here's our code, and here are the 3 get parameter as texts. So these are the parameters. So we have a 0, a 1, and a 2 that represent the output feature class, the template feature class, and the file, the text file that will open. So we have to kind of keep that in mind when we fill it out. And of course, we have to know what script it is we are loading into our script tool. So now we're in ArcGIS Pro and we can start the process. Number 1, remember you can't add your own script tool to any of the system or like standard toolboxes. So we can't use one of these, but we can go to catalog. Every time you make a project, it creates a toolbox for your project. So you can just put it in there. I've already made one as a test. A toolbox can be created with your project as a standalone toolbox file. You can also create a toolbox like this inside of a geodatabase. And then it doesn't have a file extension, but it is a custom toolbox. And you can do that just by doing a right-click, new toolbox. So one way or the other, find or create a toolbox to put your script into. Once you have that, then you can go to the toolbox and do new script. And here's that dialog box I was talking about. So we have some general properties, parameters, and execution. Under general, you'll have a name and a label. The name cannot have spaces. The label can have spaces. The name is what's used internally. The label is what you will see as a user. Optionally, you can provide a description. really lazy right now, and then a couple other parameters down here. Next, I usually do execution. And here's where you have to browse to the PY file that you plan to use. So that's the file. And then next, what I do next is the parameters. So in here, this is where it's really important to understand the script, the parameters that it needs, and the order that they're needed. And it starts at 0. So back to PyCharm. We have 0 is our output FC. So the first one is output FC, and then F class template, and that will be another feature class, and that will be input. And then F is our text file. So you have to know what file is needed or what type of object is needed, and if it's an input or an output, and what type of object it is. Is it a feature class? Is it a string, a number for like a buffer distance? Is it a text file? Is it a raster? So you have to understand what is here and either make a mental note or just literally write it down and then go back here and fill it out. So again, our first one was the output feature class. The label you pick can have spaces, and that's effectively the caption that you'll see in your dialog box. And notice the number 0. The data type, this is going to be a feature class. And so you click on the type and browse or scroll up and down to the correct file format, feature class. If you wanted to filter, you could actually filter and say not just a feature class, but it would have to be a point feature class or whatever the case may be, whatever would be appropriate. I'm not going to do that. And then over here under type, you have to say, is it required or optional or derived? Is this something the user has to provide, could provide, otherwise we'll provide a default for you, or is it something, a value that the script will actually create and the user doesn't actually do much with it? This one is required. And then under the direction, input or output. Is this object something the script needs to run or something that it will create? In this case, it's something that it will create, so this is an output. And then you do the same for the next two. This is what it looks like when it's all done. So we have our 3 parameters, 0, 1, and 2, and they're entered in the same order as the script. We have the correct data type, feature class, or text file. They're all required. One of them is an output, the other 2 are inputs. There's a couple more things that you can do in here, but we'll leave it like this for now. So once your properties for your script tool are all set up under General, Parameters, and Execution, then you can hit OK. It creates the new tool. This one has the word tool on the end. I changed it. If you need to go back and change anything, you can go right-click, Properties, and go back in. If you're ready to run it, you can double-click, just like any other tool, fill it out, and run it. So now I filled it out with an output, the template, and the input text file. And once it runs, it creates the point feature class, adds it to the map, and there you go. So now this is a point feature class that was created from this text file using the schema of another layer, and it will be super easy to plug in another text file every day or every week. When you get new data, you can just rerun the tool. So that is the advantage or the benefit of creating a script tool, is to have your own script, but make it easy to run. Now anyone could run your script, but never even look at code. So now we've filled out all of these. We've taken a look at everything in the slides. Keep in mind that the order that they are in the code is the order you enter them in the script tool properties, and thus the order that they show up here. And that's what your final tool will look like. If you want to add your own messaging when you run it, a print statement won't work, so you'll have to use ArcPy dot add message, add warning, or add error. So you can choose, these are different severity levels, and add error will always say that the tool failed even if it doesn't. So don't use them just for color coding, but you can add your own messages so that when you're running it, you can see additional messaging. And a couple of tips for success. Make sure that your script is running by itself, hard-coded, in here, before making everything into dynamic parameters. Make sure everything runs, and then update everything to have parameters, and then make the script tool. If you dive right into a script tool, it's really a pain to have to go back and forth when you're trying to troubleshoot. So get it all working first before you do that process. Just one last note here on system tools that use scripts. There are quite a bit of built-in regular tools in the toolbox that make use of scripts to perform their operation. So a lot of the spatial statistics tools, some of the analysis tools, if you see this icon here, that's what it means. The hammer is a system tool. The little scroll is a script tool. So it's actually running a script behind the scenes. If you go to your geoprocessing pane, and say go into the proximity tool set, you can see them. You can actually right click on them and choose edit, and we'll open up the code for you. There's a way to make it open up in PyCharm. Right now mine is defaulting to Notepad, but you can see there's all the code. So this is actually a great way to learn more about how the tools are being run and get ideas for how to write good code. So in lesson 6 here, we learned all about attaching a script to a script tool in ArcGIS Pro, why you would do it, how you would do it. And bottom line is it makes it really easy to share and make reusable workflows, especially with people who don't understand code or want to look at code. So now you're ready for lab 6 in class, and have some fun with some script tools.